Hey guys, welcome to Strictly Ball Business, episode 22. The jersey of my current favorite Timberwolf, Patrick Beverley, and my least favorite former Timberwolf, Andrew Wiggins. So great time to have our episode. We're not going to talk a ton about the Timberwolves today. What we will do is dive a little bit into D'Angelo Russell's improved defense this year, going from literally the worst defensive player in the league to what he is now, a respectable defender. And we'll talk about the impact of Pascal Siakam being back in Toronto's lineup. And we'll chat a little bit about whether or not we think the Bulls are going to continue to contend, if they should do anything else. We'll react to last night's game. The Suns continued their winning streak. I think it's 17 now, if not 16, beating the
17.
Warriors. So, obviously, 17 game winning streak. So, against the Warriors, that's the best win of them all. And we'll also dive into the just a status on the Denver Nuggets. Lots going on over there. So, we got a few things to say about that. So first off, D'Angelo Russell has turned himself into a respectable defender, a solid off-ball guy. He's actually getting steals every now and then through a pick and roll. He's putting his hands up every now and then as well. And you're hearing the right things from him as well. He's saying, I don't want to be known as like a terrible defender. He hears the things he knew, he doesn't want to be known as that, obviously. So, glad to see him finally turn it around this year.
Oh yeah, like it's great. Yeah, he just had that press conference where he just came out. He's like, they get players like who I used to be get targeted in the playoffs. He's like, I'm not trying to be that guy, which was really nice to hear. And I mean, like when you watch him, his on-ball defense, I don't think has gotten any better. But also, he's not an athletic player, so it's like, so like they can only do so much, but they get by him. But like what he does differently is he'll still like trail. He'll trail and cut off. He's just getting in the passing lanes. It's like the biggest impact he's had.
And that's good. Like doing that is so much more than he was before, just sitting around and not trying, now he's getting in the lanes, and sometimes that leads to good fast break points for us.
Right. And like even when he gets when they're getting him off the dribble and they're getting ahead of him, he's able to alter them by he catches up enough, but not enough where he'd be able to defend it, but to push them into one of the bigs, whether it be Nas or Cat or Vanderbilt, really. So he's able to push them into another defender when they get through. So like they're still getting defended, but then he's like in this still angle where usually this happens in a pick and roll, and he stays in the lane, so he still cuts off that roll. So I mean, he's doing pretty well, but I mean the stats, the advanced stats treat him as if he's like a defensive player of the year. So
he's he's gonna win it this year according to them.
Yeah, like look at this. So his defensive rating now, Rudy Gobert's is 102, and that's like great, right? His defensive rating is 96.8. It's pretty insane. And that's on 19 games played. So, like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, decent sample size. So it's hard to say it's too small of a sample size, Clearly he's improved this year, and he deserves the credit. So,
yeah, no, for sure. I think the more telling of like what's more accurate to his effect is his defensive win shares. Defensive win shares is like per 100 possessions, like how his defense will his defense get him a win or offense. So like his offense is 0.9 wins, so they're gonna win. If it's positive, it's always good. And his defensive is a 0.6, so it's still like reflective on like he's still like the mainly an offensive player. But
at least you're a positive defender. So that is already a revelation.
Yeah, and another good stat is he's holding whomever his opponents to 32% from the field. I mean, from the not from the field, but from three.
From three,
keep him below average. I mean, it's still. I mean, in this league, there's only so much you could do anyway, and it's just picking up in those rotations. Like we've talked about it before on the show. They've missed rotations. Sometimes they just fall into a mess, especially when they face the Warriors. They're just They're just everywhere. But granted, that's a lot of teams with the Warriors. But he's able to find those that extra guy. Like he's actively looking. He doesn't let himself get lost. Like I mean, not that Anthony Edwards just gets lost or Cat gets lost. He's able to keep track of who he's supposed to defend. And I mean, Edwards, his excuse is his second year in the league, and he's still playing decent defense for a guy who's only played 80 games or so. And
Right.
Cat has no excuse, but yeah, but it's pretty crazy. And even it's actually really funny that within 2 feet of the basket, essentially, this is what layups are. His opponents are shooting 63%, which I'm like, all right, yeah, he's a guard, it's whatever. But it's the same as Cats, so I'm like, a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, well, when Cat is in the paint, it's not very physical. It's a lot of flailing. So he's been solid offensively in the paint, his entire career, but
Yeah,
it's defensively that we've always, have had troubles with there.
yeah, and last bit of the stats. So breaking down the defensive rating, when you look at home, like his home defensive rating is 86.9, and you're like, oh my god. But then like away it's 109. I was like, that is like 109 is what I expected for his defensive rating. So I was like, that's a little more like showing. So I think eventually he'll get back up to like maybe 105, which is still good. Like
Yeah.
Marcus Smart usually hangs around a 101, 104. I mean 104, 106. So yeah, he's been looking great, and he's a huge reason. He just the most inconsistent offensive player for them out of the
I mean,
main two
he shot 1 of
options.
12 from 3 tonight. So, that tells you all you need to know there in terms of inconsistencies. And as we had gotten back to 11 of 10 over 500 here for, it's been a while since we've done that this deep into the season. He was really the main reason for it. You can see he fits this squad perfectly. And when he's doing things right, when he is able to be clutch and hit threes late in the game, often it doesn't matter how many hands you have in his face, he can keep drilling it. But he can be very inconsistent, and some days it doesn't matter if you put a hand in his face because he'll miss it still.
Yeah.
So it works both ways. And, you'd love to see him be more consistent. It's just, you can see lots of potential there, especially as he fits with this lineup.
Yeah. I mean, this is only his like 5th year in the league, 6th year in the league. Like it is kind of crazy to think. Like, I mean, he's not even a veteran yet in my eyes. I think you're a veteran once you hit 20. I mean, depending upon when you came in. Like if you came in as a
I don't think it counts as age. It's more about years in the league, because like if he gets to be in like year 8 or 9, that's a guy who's like, oh, maybe I need to look for a new situation because I need to switch things up. It's very rare that guys spend, close to a decade with the same team. Obviously, DLo's only been here for a year and a half, but he's a guy who's polarizing enough and he's, probably he's not going to be the best guy on our team where he'll be untouchable. He'll be one of those guys where it's like, okay, can we upgrade from him, or is he going to get better? And those are the sort of questions that'll be asked every year.
Yeah, I mean, he's an all-star. I doubt he'll make an all-star team. There are a lot of injured people. Like you could probably make an argument the way Dame's playing. Like Dame name alone should get an
Dame just
all-star
got
votes,
hurt.
but right.
Dame's out for like at least 10 days now, so that's not going to help.
And CJ is just never going to make an all-star game because the NBA hates him. So he could make an all-star game. He just has to be more consistent. But I mean, I was talking about it with one of my buddies at work. Is that like Timberwolves have been known, like for as long as I've known them, is to just be the worst fourth quarter scoring team in the league, and 40 to 50% of his points come in the fourth quarter, like, or in the second half. Like he's a very clutch player. Like that's what the Timberwolves need, and that's what's winning them games. Is him and Anthony Edwards both are scoring the majority of their shots in the second half, and that's really what they need. And their defense has just kept that. As long as their defense could keep it in during the half, then they're set, and that's what's been working for them. So it's
they just
nice
need to stop
healthy.
being so high and so low. If they could just be more consistent throughout the game, they could, win by bigger margins and maybe not have to, let it come down to the last possession as often as it does. But all in all, they're 11-11 right now, so I'm pretty happy with that. I say we move on to the next topic here. Pascal Siakam is back. He's been back for a few games now, and I don't have his averages up in front of me, but he's playing well, and he's providing a good leadership role for guys like Scotty Barnes now too. So I'm excited to see him back in there. Obviously, always been a great defender and a great cutter as well.
Yeah. His scoring splits are 17.9 points per game, 7.1 rebounds, 3.7 assists, 46, 33, 75. So, I mean, immediately his shooting's taken a little bit of a dive. It's not terrible, but he just came off injury. Last year was a slew of injuries and inconsistency, getting used to being the number one guy in the role. Mm-hmm. So it's been a lot for him to get used to. I mean, and now he's just joining a different system than he was even having trouble getting used to last year, with a crowded front court with sharing with Chris Boucher, Achua, Barnes, and now like the developed Anunoby, who arguably is probably the best standout player so far. You could say he's a massive improved player this year, most improved. Yeah, but it's he's just back into a different situation, and I mean he's doing fine. Like his 46, 33, 75 are decent shooting splits, especially at the volume he has. He's obviously taking less shots. He's very similar to when he won most improved. And
18 and 8's not bad, and he's got decent shooting splits, and he's just getting back into it. So, I could see him getting, back above 20 points per game on good efficiency, no problem.
Yeah, and it's actually his defense is taking a pretty huge hit, which happens when you come off injury. Like you got to get back. Like defense is something you have to be on court to play. Like you can practice defense all you want, but like it just comes down to being on the court, learning, getting back into the groove.
Yeah,
he's been back for 11 games. Like his defensive rating is 113 right now. Usually it's been around 103 or 104. So he's usually an outstanding defensive player, and I'm sure he'll get back to that. It's just like I said, new system. Just came off injury. I'm not too worried there.
Yeah, I mean, he had a pretty serious injury, so I think it's fair to expect there to be a little bit of growing pains for him to come back, but I'm not too worried. So
yeah, and I mean, him being back now, I've only gotten a chance to watch one game, and he looked fine. And I think one of them missed the game anyway. OG or OG was out, so it's like he was just in the start. It was just him and Scotty Barnes. I was like, okay, like this is fine. But when OG, I haven't seen a game when OG comes back, but I can only imagine, like as crowd is if he's not hitting shots, and obviously Scotty Barnes, he can't if he's not going to hit the three like he normally does. I mean, he's not. He is a little below average shooter. He shoots more in volume, so he can hit it. It's just his accuracy is not the best. So if he's having those struggles along with a guy like Scotty Barnes, do they really fit next to each other? Especially because they're both very like ball heavy. Like Scotty Barnes is a better playmaker, or at least will be very soon. So you imagine they're going to want the ball in his hands more, but then you're taking it out of your star's hands. So I don't see the long-term fit with Scotty Barnes. And I do think that at the beginning of the season, I was like, it's ridiculous. Why would they think about trading Siakam? But then OG has really come out into like a fringe all-star type numbers. So I'm like maybe it's time. Like OG's the better defender and the better shooter, not the better overall scorer. Like he can't create like Siakam can. But
no, OG is great. I mean, he's having a breakout year. His scoring's up about 5 or 6 points per game than it was before. So, and he's a great defender. So I think, and he fits pretty well next to Barnes, Scotty. Just because he's a bit, Barnes, because he's a bit more athletic than Pascal. You get down the floor a little easier. So I think, they're all great players, though. I'd love to see them make it work with Pascal.
Yeah. I mean, it'd either be a super big lineup, somebody would have to move. I mean, granted, all of them are good at defense. All of them are good at offense. So it's not the worst thing. You don't miss much by taking one and putting them in that 6-man role. However, all three of them are starting caliber players that you'd hate to see go on the bench. And I think it might even be the best just to look into trades, with Pascal. Like, be like, hey man, like, I don't think it would be out of discontent. Like, I think they'd be like, we're fine here. You want to go compete? They're probably not going to be competing intensely for a while, for at least 1 or 2 more years. So I think, and they could get something out of either, whether it be an all-star point guard or fringe all-star, or a better center, which I think is the center is what they really need. As they have Van Vliet, and they can come out with. I mean, really, centers are one piece. Like, you go out and get like Steven Adams for like a bad contract, and he would probably fit fine.
I mean, honestly, who they should get is their old guy, Jonas Valanciunas. Would be awesome for them right now. Solid salary. And, we just saw he scored 7 out of 7 threes in the first half of their game the other day. So, he's figured out that 3-point shot now, too. He leads the league in 3-point shooting percentage, only on 2-ish attempts per game. But
that would be a great fit. But then you could, on Pelicans side, you get Pascal's defense. And honestly, I'm not even like, people say they're stacked with their 2 forwards. I'm like, BI can play too.
Wow. I wasn't saying Siakam for Valanciunas. I don't know about that. Just maybe getting Valanciunas. I don't know. I mean,
oh no, not straight up. I'm sure
might be giving up a lot.
Yeah, New Orleans would have to put in more. But he'd be a better fit for the team, Valanciunas, at the current state of things, the way it is.
Yeah, it'd be a good fit. I agree.
I'm just glad to see Siakam. He struggled a lot last year with his efficiency and his role, and he seems to have a lot more help. Van Vliet's not constantly injured, unlike last year. He's out there. He's not so. The expectation and what they needed him to do is far less his role. So it's nice. I'd like to see him get his more shots up, but at the same time, they're trying to develop their 4th overall pick. They got OG's blossoming. Van Vliet's obviously going to get his touches, and trying to figure out what's going to go on at the either 1 or 2 guard, wherever Van Vliet's going to play, or the opposite of Van Vliet. So they got a lot to figure out. But I'm not too worried about him. I think he's shown enough in the last 11 games where he's going to be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's move on. Last night we had a matchup of a couple juggernauts, the 1 and 2 seeds in the West. Golden State Warriors, they ended up losing to the Phoenix Suns, and the Suns get their 17th win in a row. It was another solid game for Devin Booker. Chris Paul hits some nice contested classic fadeaway mid-range shots. And it was a horrible game for Steph Curry. The clamps were on for Mikhail Bridges. I'm hearing people calling him Mikhail Jail. Welcome to Mikhail Jail. He's 21 for Curry, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was his worst shooting night ever, according to the stats, with over 20 shots. With over 20 shots shot, that was 20 attempts. That was his worst game ever. Mikhail Bridges, everything goes to him. You watch before that, like if you were watching him, the Suns before, he has turned into the pest of the NBA. This guy's the biggest pest. He was killing Brooklyn. He's a lot. This guy just doesn't stop. Like, he's just always there. Like, even he was picking him up full Steph Curry full court, and like he got it was just a routine. Like it was in the middle of a quarter. He just ran up and took the ball on just inbound on the opposite side inbound of scoring, and just scored it. Like, the guy just doesn't stop. He has he was
very high motor.
Most exciting game to watch from a guy who only scored 2 points. I was like, this guy's awesome. I mean, he held Curry to 19% field goal, 21% from 3. He was awesome.
Yeah.
But
not much else you can say on that. And, the Suns, they continue to just prove that they are maybe the best team in the league at this point because of their team defense, of the way that they rally behind each other, the way that they, always find the open guy, always make the extra pass. DeAndre Ayton is the prototypical big man, exactly who you want on a championship winning team. And this team, they might win the championship this year. I think I might pencil that in as my prediction.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're looking really good. They're really hard to beat. I mean, they're showing that they weren't just a fluke. There wasn't just a injury riddled Western Conference. They made the finals. Like they made the final. They're legit a contender. Like that's why they made the finals. And the Chris Paul effect is fully there. I mean, they're getting contributions from everyone. Cam Johnson is always a great bench piece to have. Landry Shamet is a good shooter. Ayton,
Yep, he
I
had a
mean,
couple good buckets.
yeah, Ayton's turned into like when you look at him, when you watch him play, you're like, I'm not surprised this guy was a first round pick. If you just omit the
First
fact that
overall.
was Luka's draft, yeah, first overall. If you admit the fact that Luka was in that draft, then and you look at him, you'd be like, yeah, he's a first overall pick. Like he's the big question about him in the league was his defense, and he's been able to do it. He was able to guard Giannis for the most part. I mean, you can only do so much against Giannis anyway. So, and he did a good job in the finals, and now his size really bothered the Warriors. I mean, they really didn't have an answer. I mean, Belajica or Bielitsa, yeah. He's not the answer there. Kevon Looney couldn't do anything about it. Like his size really bothered them, and like that's what Monty Williams does with these games. He's like, you guys play fast, you guys play small, but we're not going to play your way. Like a lot of teams, like will be like, all right, let's try to catch them.
Yeah.
They're like, he's like, no, we're just going to play big, and it
Yeah, the
worked.
Warriors are really missing a good big man right now, hoping that James Wiseman, when he comes back, can be solid for them. And if he's not, I mean, they're going to have to make a trade at before the deadline to bring in someone decent. Someone will be available. I don't know who, but I mean, they've got to figure out something on that big man side. Obviously, they won championships with a poor center, but they also had Kevin Durant. They also had Klay Thompson before injuries. They also had prime Draymond Green. So, and prime, well, I mean, Steph Curry is still in his prime, always will be. But you get the point. I mean, they need more help.
Yeah, they do. But on the Sun side, actually, like we really got to see their depth. I mean, Devin Booker only played 15 minutes of this game. You would have thought that like when Devin Booker falls out, they'd fall off, and they didn't. Like the depth of the Suns is even better, which only showed like the Warriors. Like the Warriors have a lot of good players. It's the system that's been carrying them. Obviously, Steph Curry and Jordan Poole have been great. Wiggins has had his nights. Draymond does what he does, but like it's really that depth that they're looking for, and they're hoping to get that when Clay comes back. Clay and Wiseman come back. Those players that can really make a difference. But I mean, like I'm really impressed by the Warriors and bringing in like Otto Porter has been huge for them. He's able to hit all these corner threes. He's able to play really nice defense for them. He's really filling their 6-man role right now. And Bellizzo was a good fit, but Wiseman should be the answer against these centers like Ayton and like that. Those are the times he can be on the floor. So I'm hoping they can figure it out.
Absolutely. I mean, when Wiseman comes back, he just started his rehab assignment, down in Santa Cruz. So he'll be back soon, hopefully. And, we'll see what he actually looks like. Obviously, people were really down on him after his rookie season, but I think it's like way too soon to be looking negative on him. So I'm excited to watch him play.
Yeah, he had flashes of why he was a second overall pick last season. When you watched him, I'm sure there was nights where it just didn't look that pretty, but also the Warriors are a very unforgiving team. I'd like to say Steve Kerr is like, no, if you're not playing perimeter defense today, you're not going to play. So I mean, it's not the best development for a center in this system, but so he's going to have to do a lot of it on his own. Not saying that they're hurting him in any way. It's just kind of they're in the position where like you have to be good to get minutes.
Sure.
But last thing,
right, and that's obvious. I mean, they're a championship aspiration team. They don't have time to, let guys grow into it, which is why people were so surprised that they drafted each of their 3 first-round picks these last couple of years.
Yeah.
Because there was just the expectation, like, yeah, these guys, they're going to try and win a championship. They don't have time to be developing other dudes.
Right. Oh, yeah, right. But my last thing is, so these nights when Curry's not hitting, I would have liked to see Wiggins be more aggressive. I mean, we've said this forever, but like, and like he didn't shoot well from the field too.
Wiggins
so
not being aggressive.
But when you were watching the game, he would get these switches on Devin Booker early in the game, or he'd be switched on to Landry Shamet and pass away. I'm like, dude, Landry Shamet, like you can do this.
He's like,
Devin Booker's done. He's like, I don't know about this. I'm like, dude, like you love like if it was any other defender, you would have backed him in and taken a mid range fade away, and I would have been pissed. But like these two guys, short, and they're not the best defenders. I'm like, just this is the time you would do that, especially when Curry's struggling. Like reach for anything, try anything to score, and he just wasn't
yeah,
that's why he'll. I think I don't know if he can be the Warriors' third option going down the road. That's why because
yeah.
he's
No,
just
I
not
think they're
able to do it.
excited. I think they're excited to get off that contract at some point.
Yeah, I mean he's played decent defense for them. He's had really
Yeah,
nice games, but
sure,
yeah,
he's fine, but like they can get someone better for that money.
hmm
They want to get another guy who actually has star potential. That's why we saw trade rumors in the offseason that they were interested in Damian Lillard or Bradley Beal. They were like, yeah, we
yeah,
don't care if the fit is questionable. We want star power.
yeah, and that's really what they need. And I think there's still some ability out there. They think there's still someone they can pull in. I think Wiggins has done enough to show that he does deserve to be a starting caliber player, not for the salary he has, but he's obviously not a third option, or if they have like a really good bench piece like I don't know, like the Wizards, who have their main center is just their bench player. And that's he's what Harrell has shown showed tonight. He's still a really good player. So
Yeah, he was 9 of 10. For a bit when I last that I saw his scoring splits.
mhm.
So I don't know what he finished up at, but he was killing it. I mean, dunking all over the place. And yeah, just I mean, a little side note there on the Wizards, they were dominating the paint tonight. That must just be their thing.
Yeah. Actually they shot 49% from the field, and Timberwolves only shot 42. Yeah, 42% from the field. Both struggled from three, but yeah, it was the rebounds. Like they got like 10 more rebounds than the Timberwolves tonight. But
Yeah.
that's that. I'm excited to see Thursday or Friday. When's the next Suns Warriors game? Because they play a back to back together. I'm not back to back.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Or like within the same week?
I think it's Friday. I think it's Friday they
Damn,
play, or
that's crazy.
but they either play tomorrow or well, really today, because this is when the update the video will come out, either today or tomorrow for but that'll be exciting. I really hope the Warriors bounce back. I like to see them split that series, make it a little more interesting. So that'll be
Yeah.
good.
No, I mean, I think Steph will probably come back with a huge game. He's been the MVP favorite this year for a reason. So
Yeah, he's
not
my MVP.
not not gonna fret on that one. But I think we've talked enough about Suns Warriors. Exciting game, couple of exciting teams. We're gonna dive a little bit here into the Bulls contention status. Are they contenders? Are they pretenders? Obviously, they're playoff contenders. We know that. Shut the fuck up. We know that. Are they championship contenders? That's a legitimate question. The answer is no. But what else can they do? It's tough. They made a lot of changes this year already. DeMar DeRozan's playing awesome. Vucevic could be better. I mean, he could always be a better defender, obviously, but overall, he's still a great center for them. Levine's great. The addition of Lonzo Ball's been awesome. I think
Caruso.
Caruso's been great too. I think, you find a solid power forward that can slide in with Patrick Williams being out this year. You traded away Thaddeus Young. They got to get a power forward of some kind. I mean, I don't know how they can do it if they've already given up a lot of future picks. So I don't know if trying to give up more makes sense, to be honest. But maybe there's a guy on the buyout market that's going to be worth bringing in.
Yeah. I mean, uh I don't see. I can't make the decision if they're contenders. I don't even think so. So this is the first year the Bulls have been the Bulls. I think it's way too early to be like, are they contenders? I think you decide whether that's a thing after their first playoff run. I think their expectation is the second round. I think that's their goal this year. Anything further than that is gold. If they reach that, that's gold. If they get out in the first round, obviously there's a lot more to figure out, because as we know, I mean, yeah, Vooch is struggling right now. He finally just had a good game last night. Uh, Only averaging 14 points, still doing his double thing, 11 rebounds, 4 assists. He's still pretty solid. I'm actually not that worried about him. people are. I mean, he struggled at like he benefits a lot to knowing the system he's playing in. Like it took him how many years for the Magic, and then he started putting up crazy numbers. So I'm not too
Yeah, but
worried.
I
I think he'll
assumed
get
a
some.
lot of that was just of his maturation as a player, not so much him figuring out a system.
The system was very complimentary to him. Also, like he has a lot to get used to. The best player he played next to is Evan Fournier. So he's knowing that there's other guys out there is a little something. So it puts a little more pressure on his. Like if I were him, I would put a little more pressure on my shot, knowing that like I have to hit these everyone else is. So I think he'll figure it out. I'm not too worried about that. And obviously they're winning with him not figuring it out. So when he does, it's just going to be icing on the cake. But
Yeah.
Levine and DeRozan, they're terrific. Each of them is doing 25 points per game. Like normally I'd be like, you'd have to have an MVP caliber player to be a contender. But like both these guys are playing out of their mind. But
Yeah.
like rarely do you see like these two type of players combined to play like this. Plus, if plus you have Lonzo Ball, who is struggling from the field goal range, but still amazing shooter, lockdown defender this year, great playmaker, starting point guard for them. I
The
think
top
they
10
have enough.
three-point shooter in the league.
Yeah, that's only better. And I mean, we were really worried about their defense, and Levine's defense is still it's passable at 106 is his defensive rating, but DeRozan's is at 100. DeRozan's like, put me in a situation where I can like compete and contend. I will show up, and he's done it. I mean, he was in the MVP conversation earlier this year. He still is. I think he was just voted. Yeah, I think he's in seventh right now.
Yeah,
But
he should be. I mean, he's had some monster games for them.
yeah, but I like to think about the Heat. Like we didn't. So before they went to the Heat went to the finals, people remember like we kind of valued like Jimmy Butler. Everyone knew he was good, but they didn't see him more than we are seeing DeRozan right now, right? It wasn't until he got to the finals where we're like, oh yeah, like he just led this team to the finals. He's a good player. Like there's players like that like James Harden hasn't been to the finals, and you're like, I know he's always gonna be that good of a guy to bring him there. And we're just not sure about DeRozan. And I'm not saying DeRozan's that guy. I'm saying he could be. Like Jimmy Butler was I'd say he was a superstar, but he wasn't. Nobody knew if he could carry a team to the finals until he did. So
Yeah, I think those are similar players, and they, both guys who have been not likely to shoot the three throughout their career, but it hasn't mattered because they've been so good everywhere else.
Mhm.
And the big part that you mentioned is like, yeah, how Jimmy Butler was able to get to the finals though is because he's a great defender and he was with a great team. And now DeMar's playing like a great defender this year, and he's on a solid team. So, I think there's something to that for sure.
Yeah, I think what would help them all in their playoff run now, like I'll make the choice once I see them in the playoffs, be like they're a contender. Like let me see the first round and I can make that choice because Vooch struggled in the playoffs. DeRozan always had playoff troubles when he was in Toronto. Not enough from Levine or Ball to make a decision on how they'll be in the playoffs. Levine hasn't played in the playoffs, right?
No, because he wasn't with the year that
Yeah.
the Wolves went because we have Butler.
Yep. So neither one have played. So there's a lot of unknowns going into the playoffs, and it's the playoff is how I think about the contention, not necessarily how they play now. So
Yeah.
I want to see them in the first round. I'll make my decision, but I'd like to see them just get that elite defender. I think if they pull out and get an elite defender, I'd be like, all right, we can talk about them making the conference finals because they just don't have. I mean, Patrick Williams was great for them when he was playing. Like he was really filling the role they needed. He's out. He's out now, and now Caruso's doing really well. Lonzo's doing really well. Even Troy Brown Jr. is doing really well. Green is the guy they have in their starting lineup for defense. I'd like to see them now that the Trailblazers are falling apart. Call them up and be like, hey, what's it going to take for us to get Robert Covington? I think he could play their four nicely. I think he would fit in to help out their team defense, get them to where they want to be. He's a really nice on-ball defender. He's not the best on-ball defender, but he is really nice. And the way he affects, I mean, he made the Timberwolves an awesome, fun to watch defense when he played for them. So I'm
Yeah.
confident he could do that with this team as well.
Well, I think it would be a fine fit, but I think if you're looking for him to be the type of defender he was back when he was with the Wolves or back when he was at the Sixers. I think that's unrealistic. His knees are pretty shot at this point. But he certainly is better than what they have over there right now. So, worth a shot.
Yeah. I think he would just help out a lot. I mean, their defensive scheme now, like everyone was pretty worried about it going into the season, and their defense has been really nice. Like they've just playing like that
Yeah.
Bucks 2019 drop coverage where they're just daring people to shoot the mid range. But like what's working for them is that they're trusting in their players to close out. Everyone has been able to close out. Uh Vucevic, Lonzo, DeRozan, Levine, like everyone's making the closeout. So like that drop coverage suddenly it adds more pressure to it because if they're able to shoot, they're able to recover. So and that's kind of what the 2019 Bucks why they kind of fell apart in the playoffs is because they're just like, no, you can just shoot and we're just gonna grab the rebound, and they
Right.
made it. But now like the Bulls are like they're playing drop coverage, but they're able to close out when they on these all the passing lanes and everything. So I think they certainly have a solid chance to be contenders this year. I don't want to make a decision until I see them in the first round. When I see how they look and how they're affecting each other, I think that could be. I think they could be the next
Yeah.
the Heat, that type of underdog team that can make it all the way. Not
Yeah.
defense,
We'll
different
see.
identity, but
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I love Billy Donovan as a coach. I think his defensive schemes and his rotations have made a lot of sense this year. And there was a lot of question marks. People even thought that this team is going to win a ton of games in the regular season, but they come off to a hot start. Bunch of guys who have joined this team either via trade or free agency. So, kind of a scrapbooked together team. And you weren't sure if it was going to work out, but, chemistry is off the charts right now. Lots of fun personalities here, and I could see them definitely continuing to go far.
yeah, and
So,
that's also huge. Like, yep, uh, chemistry is great. Like they look like they're having fun, and honestly,
yeah,
that's a lot of how you win games. Is all of them look like they're
right.
having fun. Nobody looks like they get mad at each other for missing rotations or anything. Nothing looks dysfunctional. And
Yeah,
kudos to Billy Donovan. He's done an amazing job. Like all the
yeah,
worries we've had, he's just cleaned up. Like he's an awesome coach, and I think if he keeps it up, he's in contention for Coach of the Year so far.
yeah, absolutely. And I think, a lot of people question like, oh, is DeMar going to be a good fit? They're just like thinking, oh, straight position wise with him next to Levine. But it was
Mhm.
like, yeah, why wouldn't you take a guy who averages, over 20 points per game, solid defender right on your team? Imagine where they'd be without him right now. I don't know if they'd even be close to being this good. Like he's been amazing.
Yeah. And his playmaking, like that's the last thing I'll say about the Bulls is their playmaking is awesome. The way they pass, like Vooch has always been a good offensive playmaker, 4 or 5 assists a game in his prime the last few years. The DeRozan's, I mean, obviously Lonzo has been a great playmaker, 7 to 8 assists a game, but DeRozan the last 2 years has made a giant jump. I mean, he's only averaging 5 assists this year, but he's with, like I just said, he's with 2 other really nice playmakers having on the floor. And Levine does what he can. He's not the best passer, but he's certainly can set players up. He can collapse the defense. But DeRozan 7 assists last year, so this guy's a good playmaker, and that's really added to their offense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, let's move on from the Bulls and let's talk a little bit about the Nuggets, a team that I thought had a good chance to make the championship this year. Once they would get Jamal back, but now wheels are falling off a little bit off the cart even further with Michael Porter Jr. now being out for the season with his third back surgery before even turning 23 years old. Now, that's obviously a problem. They've got Jamal Murray coming back from his torn ACL. And Nikola Jokic just came back from an injury that wasn't nearly as serious as those other ones, thank God. But still, things are tight right now, and they need Jokic just to, be the best player in the world every night for them to win games.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, those injuries are hurt enough. So Michael Porter out for the season. Didn't play well before. He was really struggling at the first half of the season. You could say that it could have been the back that was attributing to why he was playing bad. Murray's still out indefinitely from the ACL injury. They still have no timeline for him. It's tough. It's tough to look at that roster. I mean, it is really nice. Like Jokic's playing like the reigning MVPs coming out showing exactly why he was MVP. The people that blamed him for it and said that he was the worst MVP in years, obviously not. Like, look what he's doing. Like, he's awesome. 26 points per game, 13.7 rebounds is actually the crazy part for me. Like, the guy that he is, the non-athletic, that's awesome. 6.4 rebounds, 60, 41, 75. 60, 41, 75 shooting splits, 60 from the field with this man's crazy volume. Like, that's insane.
Yeah,
like, that's why they're still winning games.
All-time great type of shit. I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah. But I mean, it is worth to say the Nuggets. I mean, it's not just him winning games. Like, Aaron Gordon is playing the best defense he's ever played in his career, and he's one of the best defenders in the league, I'd say, right now, or team defense more. I mean, he's still really nice on ball defense. He's doing great. He's really benefiting from Jokic's with the offense that Jokic creates. He's always had troubles with efficiency, shooting or scoring wise, and now he's has great shooting splits. He's being a really efficient player. Monte Morris has done it probably like, even though he's a starting point guard, I'd say he's one of the best backup point guards in the league right now. Like, he's able to hold up this offense and do everything he can as the player, as not a Jamal Murray type player, to keep them in the games, keep the offense rolling. And he's been great. Monte.
No, I love
Morris.
Monte. I mean, he's been a guy for over the last couple of years, has proven that he can be a good spark plug and he can get, buckets in a hurry. And he's a good facilitator, knows how to run the offense and pick and roll with Jokic. He does that very well too. Obviously, he's not as good as Murray, but for the offense to look, similar, at least in terms of motion, and doesn't really look like it's lost a step with him in there. So
yeah, no, and Will Barnes stepped up too.
Will Barnes. I was going to say, I love him.
Yeah, he's doing. He's scored like this before. It's just now he has more volume because they're.
Yeah, he was hurt last year. So
yeah, second and third options are gone. So yeah, he's coming out. He's doing what he can. I mean, if this team was fully healthy, I'd say they're a contender. Like, you had them as the first seed when we were doing our predictions.
Yeah,
but
that was banking on me, hoping they would have a healthy season out of MPJ and that they would get Jamal Murray back and that he'd be, just fine and dandy, which we'll see how that goes. But, obviously not off to a great start with everything else.
Yeah. My only concern is that, so like, even if he comes back, and I was looking at the team if they're fully healthy, I don't know if Jamal Murray is the point guard to get you to a championship. I still think they're still contenders, but I think they're not going to win until they get a little better of a point guard than Jamal Murray, because he's also still not an elite playmaker. I mean, he is an elite scorer sometimes. Sometimes he looks great. Sometimes he's like, you're like, all right, what happened, man? But I think they could indulge in some trades. I mean, Kyrie Simmons is out there when he comes back healthy. Kyrie, I only say because I don't know. Kyrie, maybe. I mean, Denver doesn't have the vaccine mandate, and Kyrie's still a great player. It's just, he just has to show up, and I think he would fit well in the system. Simmons, I think, could work really well because of playing next to Jokic, having a center that can shoot like that. Aaron Gordon can shoot. Everyone can shoot around him. I think he would be more compliment than he is to Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid. I think Simmons would be an awesome point guard to fit in here, and I think the 76ers would love to have Jamal Murray. I think that would be, honestly, that's probably the best, more likely trade I've heard come from Ben Simmons stuff. But you could also have buyouts like John Wall. I always mention Eric Gordon. He would really fit well on any team. I think John Wall would help, certainly, with this team. Kevin Love, whatever, just a veteran, throw in there. He can shoot, I guess. Those are the buyouts, but I don't know. Overall, this team's getting really nice contributions, even from like Jeff Green, Bones Highland, Campazzo.
Yeah, they love Bones over there, and Campazzo's obviously a fan favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Dude just plays hard. He loves to get right in there with the guys way bigger than him, tries to score layups on top of them anyways. So love it.
Yeah. This is a really fun team. They're still a really fun team to watch. I mean, they just lost to my Magic, but yes, it's whatever. we got a nice young.
But they're a good team overall. They'll make the playoffs, even if it's just Jokic out of their main guys that's healthy. So
yeah, still, what a position for Denver to be in. Be like, like everyone's like, yeah, they'll make the playoffs, even though two of their best players, their second and third scoring
Yeah,
option, are out. And
yeah.
everyone's like, yeah, they'll make the playoffs, like no
Still
doubt.
such a bummer that they just paid MPJ that like this off season, and like we knew like about the back issues before, and like they knew about that, and it was like giving him this big contract was a big risk, and it's like, did he know like he's gonna have to get this surgery?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like he was struggling. Yeah, it's very possible that he was just like, oh, maybe I should. Like, I don't know. Well, I don't. It. I don't want to assume it, but yeah, it's
I
poor
mean, like you
timing.
can't blame him. Like he's got to get his money. Like good for him for locking it up, getting the bag. But yeah, it's just unfortunate for the Nuggets to be paying that and not getting any production out of it.
Yeah, yeah. I was just poor timing, I guess. But
Yeah.
nice position. I'm really excited to see where they'll go. I think next season is their season. Hopefully, everyone will be back. They'll be competing. I don't think. Yeah, they don't really have any free. I think Will Barton's a free agent.
No, they extended him
Oh, they
last year.
extended. So they're going to mostly have the same team next year. Everyone's on contract. So aside
Yeah.
from like little pieces here, and like Jeff Green probably won't be
Yeah.
on the team.
No, they have their core locked in. So, as long as guys can get healthy at some point, like it's going to be a good squad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, man, let's wrap it up here. Strictly Ball Business episode 22 talked about a few different things going on in the NBA. We're, a little over 20 games now into the season. So you could say about, a little over a quarter of the way through the season. So this, we know some realities of some things. We know there's still some mysteries out there. So we're excited to discover what's going on next. And, best believe we'll be here to talk about it. Anything else you wanna mention here on the show, Dalton, besides telling the good folk to subscribe to us below?
No, that's it. like and subscribe, man.
Like and subscribe, baby. All right, well, we'll talk to you guys later.